there. Today we're going to talk about what to do about underarm gap. Now, that is something that commonly happens in top-down seamless knitting, and it's just a natural part of the process because you're knitting everything in one piece and then you separate, you work on the lower body, you pick up the sleeve stitches, but unless you pick up extra stitches under the arm, you're going to end up with a little gap that looks something like this. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It's just part of the process. And yes, you can pick up extra stitches so that you don't have that gap, but then you make the sleeve bigger and we don't always want that, right? So I'm going to show you how I fix the gap in my own sweaters. This is a tiny little clever fox from my book, Knit a Little. So we're going to go to the wrong side. I'm just going to turn it inside out here. Now you will have a string that is left over from when you rejoined the yarn to knit the sleeve. You can use this string, especially if you give yourself enough length to work with. I usually leave a little bit longer thread. This one's kind of short. So I'm going to go ahead and use a second thread on a needle, but if your thread here under the arm is long enough, you can use that. And what I like to do is I actually like to follow the stitch revolutions that are already in there. So I'm just going to kind of weave up and down and back and forth. And what I'll do is I'll tie this off with the tail that I had under the arm. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start to close it up here at the side, and I'm going to watch for where the stitches naturally go through each other, like they kind of link together. And so I'm going to follow those. And by doing that, it makes it pretty invisible on the other side. But listen, this is not an exact science, so don't worry about it if it's not exactly the same as I'm doing it. Honestly, I do it a little differently every time. It's not a big deal. It's really just, can you close up the gap? That is literally the only thing that matters, is can you close the gap? So I'm just kind of trying to fit this thread in through other stitches that are already there, and then kind of weaving back and forth. You can see it's not an exact science. There's really not a wrong way to do it. If it seals the gap closed, and you don't have a hole under your arm, then you've done it right. That's all there is to it, as long as it doesn't create a lot of extra bulk. All right, this looks to me like we are pretty well there. And then you can just tie it off. And then on the other side, all right, so here's the underarm we just finished. And underneath, no more gap. And it looks perfectly fine. You don't worry about an exacting science, but you're just really weaving those stitches and kind of following the little revolutions of the stitches underneath the arm until you are able to seal it closed. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. No one's going to check your skills on this and give you a pass or fail. If you can close the gap, you did it right.